Hi everyone. Okay, so let's continue on with the exercises assigned from section 6.5. So we went over 1, 3, and 5 so far in the previous video, so let's start with question 9. A small manufacturing operation can produce up to 250 units per week of a product that sells for $20 per unit. So the sale price or selling price is $20. The variable cost associated with each unit is $12, and then there's a fixed cost per week of $1,200 that has to be covered. A, how many units must the business sell per week to break even? Okay, so as you know, for the break even, total revenue needs to equal total costs associated. Okay. So therefore, we're going to take TR equals TC, total revenue equals total cost. So we know total revenue is $20 X, because $20 is what we sell it for. X represents the number of units that we sell. So total revenue is the equivalent of 20X. And that's equal to the total cost, which is 12X. The variable cost is $12. X represents the number of units, plus that $1,200 that needs to be covered for fixed costs. So we need to solve for X. So we're going to move the 12X to the other side. So we have to subtract it from both sides. So that leaves us with 8X equals 1,200. Then we need to get rid of the 8X. So we want to divide both sides by 8. So that means that X is equal to 1,200 divided by 8, or 150 units per week. B, determine the firm's weekly profit or loss if it sells 120 units per week. So net income, again, is TR, total revenue, minus your total costs. So your total revenue, again, represents the 20X, your selling price multiplied by the number of units. You need to subtract off the variable cost, which is $12, and then the fixed costs have to be covered as well. And that's your 1,200. So if we want to sell 120 units per week, we're going to multiply the 20 by the 120. And the $12 by the 120, subtract off your 1,200, that gives you a loss of $240 per week. But if we sell 250 per week, we multiply the 250 by the $20 to give you your total revenue, subtract off the $12, which is your variable cost, multiplied by the number of units, which is your 250, and then subtract off your 1,200, which is your fixed cost. That gives you net income of $800 per week. C, determine the firm's weekly profit or loss if it has revenue of $4,900 per week or $1,960 per week. So here we know what the total revenue amount is, but we don't know the number of units. But we know each unit sells for $20, so if we take the 4,900 divided by your $20, that's going to give us the number of units. Same for the 1960. If we divide that by the $20 per unit, then we'll have the number of units. So let's have a look at number C. So we've got 49 divided by 20 gives you 245 units per week. If we take the 1960, divide that by 20, then our second option is 98 units per week. Okay, so then again, now that we know what the units are, we can fit it into the equation. Net income equals total revenue minus total cost, which is your 20X, which we know is the 4,900. We need to subtract off the 12X. Again, we know that the X represents the number of units, and we know the number of units is the 245, and subtract 1200. Okay, we can actually combine these two here. We've got 20x minus 12x. So we can simplify it and just make that 8x. So 8 multiplied by the number of units, which is your 245, subtract off the 1200, that's 1960 minus 1200 gives you 760 profit per week. Okay, so we can do the same thing with the second one. So again, instead of up here in B, I did them separately, your 20x and your 12x. Down here, I combined them to show you the shortcut. So here, the 20x minus 12x gives you the 8x. So 8, and then in brackets, the x represents our 98 units per week. Subtract off the 1200. So that's 784 minus 1200. So obviously our total revenue is not going to be able to cover our total cost. So we actually have a loss that week of $416. Okay, so D. At what level of sales will the net income be $400 per week? Okay. So up here, we were using the formula net income equals total revenue minus total cost. So now we know what the revenue is, we know what the net income is, so we need to figure out what the units are. So if we have net income, okay, so again, we have our net income of 400, and we know that the formula is 20x minus 12x minus 1200. Okay, so let's simplify the equation. We want to get rid of this negative 1200 on both sides, so we're going to add it to both sides. And we can combine our x's. So therefore, by moving the 1200 to the other side, that gives us 1600 equals, and then 20x minus 12x gives us 8x. Then we want to isolate the x by dividing each side by the 8. That gives us 1600 divided by 8 equals x. And that is 200 units per week that we need to sell in order to have a net income of 400. So that's on the per unit basis. And if we multiplied it out by the $20 per unit that we sell it for, total revenue of 4,000 would give us net income of 400 per week. Okay, so let's move on to question 13. Okay, so for 13, Reflex Manufacturing Corp manufactures composters at a unit variable cost of $43. So we know our variable cost is $43. It sells them for $70 each, so there's our selling price. And it can produce a maximum of 3,200 composters per month. So that gives us our capacity. So our 100% capacity is 3,200 composters per month. And the annual fixed cost is $648,000. Okay. Question 1, what is the break-even volume per month? So that right there tells us that we should take that fixed cost divided by 12 to come up with our monthly fixed cost. Okay, so 648 divided by 12 gives us 54,000 per month. So to come up with our break-even volume per month, again, it's total revenue equals total cost. Or we could change it so that we know our net income equals total revenue minus total cost, and we know that the break-even net income would be equivalent to 0. Okay, so either formula is correct to use and can easily be used. Okay, so let's try the total revenue equals total cost. So we know that our total revenue is 70x because our selling price is 70. And we know our total cost is 43x, which is our variable cost per unit, plus the 5,400 fixed costs per month. So we want to move the 43x to the other side and get rid of it from this side. So that'll become 70x minus 43x, which would leave us with 27x. And 27x equals the 54,000. So again, we want to isolate the x. So we want to get rid of the 27. So we're going to divide both sides by 27. 54,000 divided by 27 gives us 2,000 composters per month. So to break even, we need to sell 2,000 composters per month. Okay. B, what is the monthly net income at a volume of 2,500? So we know to break even, we need to sell 2,000. So we know if we sell 2,500 in a month, we're going to have a profit. So they want to know what the monthly profit would be, or the net income. So we know net income equals our total revenue minus our total cost. So 70x minus 43x minus 54. Group our x's together. 70x minus 43x gives us 27x. So in the x spot, we'll put in the 2,500 of the units that we're going to sell. So net income equals 27 multiplied by 2,500 minus off our 54,000 fixed costs. Multiply that out, gives us 67,500 minus 54,000. And that gives us a net income of 13,500 if we sell 2,500 composters in a month. C, what is the monthly net income for reflex operations at 50% capacity during recession? Okay. We know that our 100% capacity, as it says up here, is 3,200 composters per month. So if we want 50% capacity, half of the 3,200 is 1,600 per month. So what is the monthly net income if they're operating at that 50% capacity? So net income, again, the 27x, which is the 70x minus 43x. So 27, put in the x spot the 1,600, minus off the fixed cost of 54,000. Multiply that out, gives us 43,200 minus 5,400. That gives us a loss of 10,800 in a month. And we knew right from the beginning it was going to be a loss, because remember up here to break even, they have to sell 2,000, and 50% of capacity is only 1,600. So if we only sell 1,600, we knew right there we were going to have a loss. D, at what percent utilization would the annual net income be 226,800? Okay. So if net income is 226,800 per year, okay, where it says annual net income, we want to figure it out on a monthly basis. Divide that by 12 gives us 18,900 per month. Okay. So again, net income equals our total revenue minus our total cost. So fill in the net income, which is your 18,900, and that's equal to 27x minus 54. Add 54,000 to both sides, gives you the 72,900. Divide that by 27, and that gives us 2,700 composters per month. That divided by your 3,200 gives us 84.4% capacity. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a look at E and let me know if you have any questions.